Alright guys, today we're back and we're going to remove the worms from the nursery bins and create another green bin with the cocoons so they can hatch. And I've been slacking on it, so it's been about a month and a half. So I hope none of the baby cocoons hatched and mingled with the mature worms, but we're gonna see today and we're going to separate them. It seems like the vinaigrette in the shot glass really worked. Doesn't seem to be too many fruit flies now. Usually when I tap these, a lot of them will come out, but I don't see that many. Guess this really worked. But right now you can see this guy, he's debating whether to go in or not. But yeah, the shot glass, the vinaigrette evaporated some, so we need to fill this back up. But let's see, I'm gonna leave it in for another week, and then I'm going to pour it out and see how many fruit flies we caught in total. Alright, so we're gonna separate the cocoons from the worms, and we're gonna place the cocoons into the green bin right here, and then we're gonna place these worms with some new bedding and place them back into another black bin so they can get back to work. So we're gonna uncover this, and you see some condensation collecting on top of the bubble wrap, so that means it's controlling the water really well. So first we're just going to go in here, mix it up, and see what we find. So today we're going, instead of using cocoa coir as the bedding, which I have been doing in the past, I'm just going to start using cardboard, shredded cardboard, since that way I will be able to easily tell what is castings and what is unfinished bedding. So with the cocoa coir, after a while it does start to look like castings. I want to make sure that they are castings, so I'm just going to switch that out. So we're going, so the texture of this feels pretty good. It's nice and cool to touch. So we're going to start sifting through this and separating out. So right here I have my worm sifter. These are 1/4 inch holes, so the casting should go through, but the worms should stay on top. And then they'll just go back into another black bin so they can start mating and making some more eggs. So what we are left is some of the organic material that they didn't eat yet. This is a banana, some shredded paper, and then the worms of course are up here as well. And the few worms that do make it through to the bottom, that we will separate those out. It's just a couple stragglers. But the hole is big enough for the castings to go down itself, but the worms are not. So this is really good for separating worms. Alright, so we just got done sifting through our first worm bin, so we're just going to take out any worms that fell through in here, and then move that back in there. And then we can see that there's also some baby worms that already hatched, so we'll just add them back into the worm nursery. Eventually they'll grow up, so it's fine to just leave them in there. I'm not going to go too crazy, I'm just going to pick out the big worms that I do see. Eventually the cocoons in here will also hatch, and then they'll just start to lay their own cocoons until they reach a stable population in here. They only lay as many cocoons or have as many worms as the space allows them to anyways. So that was a collection from the first bin, and these are like really great castings and that they produce. So this can also go into the garden, but right now we are collecting these for the cocoons, for them to hatch out. And then I could make even more and then place them out into the garden as well. So I could use a 1/8 of an inch and sift this down even further, and then I'll just have pure castings versus, and then the cocoons will stay. But right now I still want them to have their own bedding, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. And here we have the sifted material, so it's all the big stuff, and then we can see a whole lot of worms in here. They're a little harder to see, but they're definitely in here. There's definitely about like 200 in this bin alone. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in our new bedding material today, which is going to be shredded cardboard. So with the shredded cardboard, we should be able to differentiate the castings versus what the bedding actually is. So I'm excited to use this new material, and I'm going to let you guys know what these worms think about the shredded cardboard. So obviously they cannot stay dry, so I need to get some water into this. Alright, so worms definitely like it more wet than usual because it helps them in the breeding cycle. So let me just get all this cardboard thoroughly wet, and based on like other worm YouTuber videos, these worms definitely like the flavor of shredded cardboard. So we get this all mixed in. It is a little cold to the touch, so I'm going to add these, put these worms on top of a heating mat so they can better produce. When this gets cold, their productivity levels does start to drop off. So I'm gonna add some more shredded cardboard because it is very wet now. And also they could just eat the shredded cardboard as their food, but they should definitely get some better tasting organic material. So we're gonna come in here and feed them as well before we put them back onto the shelf. So what we got for them today is some orange peels, and some frozen apples. And also part of the white scallop squash. I tried to eat these, but I just never got the time to make them or figure out what to make with it. So I just chopped it up and put it in here for the worms to eat instead. At least it's going back to the garden some way, somehow. Alright, so this bin is done. We're going to put this back. And back to the shelf. Alright, so I'm going to do this with the other two bins, and I'll get back to you guys once everything is sifted, and I will see how many cocoons we got in here. Alright, so I just got done sifting all three of those containers, those worm nurseries, and I'm seeing a few eggs, but I think I'm seeing a lot less than I did the first 3 times I did it. Probably because the weather has gotten colder, so the worms have been less productive. So this bin, not as many cocoons as I would hope. So now we're just gonna let this bin grow out. So we're just gonna add some more bedding for them because I want them to just be in their own castings. So I'm just gonna add some shredded paper. And there's a lot more in this bin that I would hope. So than I would like. So I'm just going to move some over to this other bin here. That should definitely help with the space in here. So now, I'm just going to come in with here. Some more shredded paper. And after adding all of this dry material, we're going to have to come in and water it. Alright, this one looks very nicely mixed. Now goes this one. Alright, so there's not that many worms or just like 1 or 2 stragglers that did fall through, so we're just going to give them a little bit of food just in case. So we're just going to throw that in there. And this. Yeah, maybe that piece is a little bit too big. I'll just rip a little bit off just like that. I'll just cover it up, just so there are a couple of worms in here, they'll have something to eat. Since these are new bins, we're gonna come in here with a plastic bubble wrap. And we're just gonna put this away. Alright, so this is the worm cocoon nursery that we made from probably the first time. Let's see if there's any more worms. So we can see there's some worms coming up to the surface because they do like it more wet. So let's just mix this up, see how much more we got. So the food I put in here last week, it's right about here. Don't know where it is actually. Maybe this was part of it. I'm not too sure. But it seems like they ate all of it, as I don't see any more food, and I do see worms crawling around. So it's when this bin is active now. Yeah, and the color is really nice and dark, so I'm pretty sure these are castings that could be ready to go out. But I'm going to wait until these worms are bigger, so I don't separate, so I don't like accidentally throw them out into the garden. So this bin is good. I'm just gonna throw some food in here. And I'm also gonna throw in some tree cardboard. And that's so sad. Anyways, moisture level is pretty good, so I'm just gonna cover it up. And it should be good to go. Alright. So after you have like a system going, everything does go pretty fast. I don't even spend that much time on the worm bins. The most amount of time I spent was on separating the worms. But here we can see like this part, it actually compressed because they ate all the food in this area. So let me just scoop this area so we can see if there's like a lot of baby worms activity, and yeah, we do. Right here. It's a little hard to see. We got a lot of baby worms just in and out of the food. Yeah, right where the food is, that's where all the worms are gonna be. So this is where all the baby worms are. So this bin is going to be filled with worms once they mature. And I can't wait to see how many worms there are going to be in this bin, because there's so many baby worms right now. I'm just going to toss it around a little bit, because give them some aeration that they might need. And eventually, even though I'm tossing them around like this, eventually they'll find their way to where the food is going to be, or where the optimal temperature they want to be in. So I'm not too worried about doing this to newly hatched worms. So here, just like the others, got some nice apples and white scallop squash for them. Cover that up. This one is good to go as well. So you can see like the sides here are dry, and it's okay because it's just like just a very surface level of it. So we just strip it off and we can see that it's still very wet on the bottom. And even though it does get dry, the worms don't need to be in that area. So the plastic really helps with keep the moisture in. And then same here, let's dig in right in the middle, see if there's any worms. Yeah, this one, there's quite a few worms. Yeah, there's a couple of baby worms as well. Not as much as the first one that we saw, but this one I would say was the second bin that I did. This is definitely the second iteration of the cocoon nursery. So down here I am feeling that it's very dry just because it is in direct contact with the heat pad, heating mat. So I'm going to need to water this one in. There's a lot of dry spots, even though it's like in the center and in the bottom, still gets dried out. So we just need to water this one in. Worms do like it wet. So let's just do that. Alright, very good. Gonna mix that a little bit. Spread the moist bedding all over. Feed them more of the same things. Put the cover back on. And that is all for the cocoon nurseries. Now we got our other bins to do. Oh wow, so this one has a lot of fruit flies in it. I don't know if you guys saw all that coming out, but alright guys, go to the vinaigrette. I'm gonna need to cut a plastic wrap for this one. Wow, that's probably why where they were all hiding. Alright, so I'm gonna really need to separate this bin out. But we can see, wow, this bin has a big worm ball. These are all, I'm pretty sure, Indian blue worms. So I'm probably just gonna throw like this whole bunch. Nah, I can see a couple red wrigglers in there, so I won't do that. But yeah, we can see a lot of Indian blue worms right here. Again, this bin is very moist. I need a little while longer before I separate this out. So this is a banana, I believe. They haven't gotten to the center, so I'm just gonna peel this open for them. They'll start attacking this banana. Very nice. We're just gonna come in with a little bit more food to feed them. And then when I have more time, I'll come and separate these guys out. But in the meantime, I'm a little too lazy to do anything with these right now. Just cover you up. Put you away. This bin is very nice. Got a couple of those white scallop squashes that sprouted here. So we're just gonna mix this up real quick. Moisture in here is really high, so that's good for the worms. Here it seems like they attacked and got to the center. But I will open that up for them also. Just mix around this bin. Very cool, very cold in here. So these worms are probably not liking the temperature. They're just maintaining their life. But once the season starts to warm up, the bin will too, and then the activity of these worms will increase also. Either that, or I need to get more heat pads for them right now. So we'll just go in, feed them a little bit of that. Yeah. Cover it up. Again, this bin will need to be separated out for their worms. This one, also one of the remaining three that need to. So what makes this one difficult was the amount of baby worms that they had. But once they mature, they'll be easier to pick out, and then I'll be able to better separate them. And then last but not least, we can't forget our blue worm bin. Wow. You see, these guys are all escape artists. They go everywhere inside the bin. If I don't have it closed, I will find these guys all over the floor, and I don't want that. So into the bin you guys go. Yeah, so many of you guys. Alright, and they, as always, they get the remaining amount of food, which isn't much. Since this bin is very wet, we'll come in with some shredded cardboard. Try to make it a little bit drier for them. But yeah, these guys make really good castings, and there's so many of them. Alright, that's that. So, being the idiot that I am, I accidentally spilled my shot glass of balsamic vinaigrette and spilled all over my pile of bricks. And these are all of the fruit flies that fell out. So, it did work, but man, drop this. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Right now I'm only doing worm content because the weather here is really cold, but pretty soon we are going to be starting seeds and going to be starting our spring garden, so stay tuned for that.